Today, as we continue on with our biome ecosystem series, we're going to be talking about heathland and shrubland ecosystems, and the who, what, when, where, why, and how this information can better help us to grow plants. Let's get started. When we look at biomes, it's really important to understand not only the geographical regions of where they are, but the altitude, how close or far away they are from oceans, the altitude, latitude, longitude of them, because they will help us to pinpoint the type of environmental factors that they help to contribute. All of these environmental factors will help to contribute to individual plants. Not only the temperature, but also the humidity potential as well, how much sunlight, how little sunlight they all provide, which influences how a plant and animals will evolve based on that little bioclimate. Now, this is really important because when we look at these individual climates, and if we understand the climate that we're trying to study and the plants that we're trying to replicate, by knowing that information, it will better allow us to replicate that plant's needs and growing conditions to better grow it, if we understand where they evolved from. Now, when we look at the specific climate of shrublands, they tend to be rocky or lowland hills areas, generally near coastlines. These coastlines are generally going to be located along the Mediterranean, sometimes near Southern California, South Africa, Western Australia. They are literally located all over the world. Those are just some examples and the general parameters that you're going to see. When you take a look at these dry areas, they tend to be very dry in summer and have cool, moist summers in the temperature. And it is very also easy to see this based on the precipitation that it receives. Most often the precipitation is going to fall during the winter time, and it's going to be very seasonal in that you tend to have a very distinct wet season and a very distinct dry season, rather than hills and valleys that is relatively consistent throughout the entire year. With this being the case, your precipitation is going to range between 10 and 40 inches of rain per year. Most of the time, it's going to fall within the winter months in rainfall. Occasionally, it will happen in snow, but this is very, very rare in the case with how warm these climates tend to be. The soil structure that you look at is going to tend to be very rocky in nature. Sometimes in isolated areas you're going to find sandy patches that the low rainfall, when it does rain, is going to diffuse the nutrients very quickly through, if it does get any. But for the most part, you are going to find very rocky hills and fast draining sand beds that tend to dominate this area. With that, you tend to have salt minerals such as sodium or calcium that builds up, forming a salt pan clay system on the above surface, which is going to form calcareous soils, meaning that the pH of this region is generally above 7, with most soil systems below the 6.5 range. This is going to be much higher due to that low rainfall. The vegetation of this area is going to reflect based on that low rainfall. It tends to have very low, sharp needle to help conserve water in this low system. Many times, though, this can often not be the rule of thumb, because occasionally you will find leaves that are going to be a little bit wider and broader, but they tend to be a little bit hardier, that can handle drought-like conditions and then flushes of rain to interact with this. Some of the most notable plants from this region are going to be our aromatic spices and herbs that are used within the culinary world. Most of the most predominant ones are going to be rosemary, oregano, thyme, savory, that are used in a lot of Mediterranean dishes, hence the Mediterranean climate. When you look at animals that tend to be from this region, most often they're going to be hardier animals that can handle colder climate and extreme heats, both in variation. And with that, you're going to get a moderation of animals. You're going to find large to medium-sized mammals such as bighorn sheep, some hardy deer, elk. Most of the time, though, those are going to be fewer in number, and most are going to be herbivores. There are not going to be as many predatories, but occasionally you will find a cougar or similar animal. Also, alongside this, because of the high drought conditions, you will find many reptiles that are geckos that do survive in this climate, being in a high drought-like state in many of these locations. When you're looking at these regions, it seems like these regions are very harsh. However, with these harsher climates, it's tend to form some of our more aromatic herbs, and that's why it's important to understand this ecosystem. Because when you look at it, it doesn't have much economic value, just environmental value that they provide. But economically speaking, it is one of the more important regions just because of some of the plants that have evolved out of it, being those spices that are generally used in economic situations. And there are guys such as these culinary chef classics that their dishes would not be the same without these culinary herbs of sage, rosemary, thyme, oregano, savory. They are utterly important, and they really help to provide very savory dishes that I would be remiss if I wasn't able to partake in how well balanced and depth and nuances they provide to the food that we enjoy in our daily lives. I would like to thank you for joining us this episode video as we take a look at the shrubland ecosystems, and look forward to seeing you next time. And now, here's a word from our sponsors. This episode of Yule Acres is brought to you by Yule Acres Grapefruit Naturally Scented Lip Balm. For more information about this product, click on the link in the description below.